So just to start, welcome again everybody. I know that some of you have already seen our previous presentation, so we are very happy to see you again today. So today it will be the 6th LEGO Braille Bricks webinar, and it is called Hands-on Orientation. And I know that most of you know, but we are Braille consultants for the LEGO Foundation, and we have been building and conceiving the pedagogical concept of LEGO Braille Bricks and written all the activities. So here is Mary. Hello, Mary. And I am Mark. And for this webinar, just to let you know, we are going to have a look at 2 activities in the orientation, pre-Braille orientation section. And you will need to have a few materials, not very important, but you will need 1 base plate, you will need a bowl, and 10 letter bricks. If you can select the letter bricks, how many you want between A to J, that will be best. And for those of you who don't have bricks, Lego bricks, you can use regular Lego for this section once again, for at least 1 activity. So 1 base plate, 1 bowl, and 2 bricks from letter between A and G. That means that you can take 5A and 2B and 2D, no matter. I think you have access to the screen now. So we are going to take 2 minutes to have a quick view of what is on the website, where to find activities we are talking about, and to make a short summary of pre-Braille and the kind of activity category that we are going to see. Yeah, so in the website you have to go in the activity section, and you will find, you know that the activities are divided in 2 parts, pre-Braille and Braille, and we are going today to talk about pre-Braille activities. So that's usually activities about education of touch or tactile discrimination, spatial skills in, on, right, left, back, front. Also all the 5 motor skills and recognition of the spatial organization of the Braille cell. So we have 3 different categories: manipulation, orientation, and constellation. So if we start by the hand, constellation, it will be the purpose of tomorrow's webinar, and it will be about learning how the cell is organized. So the Lego Braille bricks will become a Braille cell. But our point today is about orientation, and it's learn how to position the bricks on the base plate and be aware that their orientation is important. So if we go on the website, you have access to 15 activities in this section, and you have, for example, activities about making 3D structure in, like, for example, build a square tower. You have also notions of vertical and horizontal in Enchanted Forest. That's the point of this activity. Also, continue the rhythm. That's a very important thing if we want to alternate horizontal and vertical. And the last one for now, it's apple trees, and that's the first activity that we are going to present, and that Mary is going to explain and comment with us.
Okay, so apple trees. It is an activity, and the goal is really to develop hand and finger strength and recognize spatial relationships. Yes, so we're gonna create an apple orchard on the base plate. So just to do it, you need 1 base plate, 10 letter G, and 1 bowl. So you just have to take the bricks and place them in the bowl. And I have some things to say before, because why do we want to have letter G? It is because we want to explain what we call the correct reading position to children. So you have several manners to attach the bricks on the base plate. You can put them like that on the base plate, attach them in what we can call landscape orientation or horizontal, or in portrait or vertical. Sometimes it can be confusing to say vertical if you don't want the kids to end and put a brick like that on the base plate. We are talking here about attaching them, so in vertical position attached on the base plate. Yes, it is your plate, sorry,
Yeah.
Mark. And why letter G? It's because we want to explain them that to be sure to have the correct reading position, they have to search for the flat space at the bottom of the brick. That's where the character is printed, and that's can be tricky for some of them to really feel the difference. So we want, in order to make it easier at the beginning, we want to have bricks with only studs in the two first rows. So that means dot 1 or dot 2, dot 4 or 5, but no bricks with dot 3 or dot 6. And so that's why Mark said that you need bricks at the beginning among letter A, B, C, D until J. Like that, we are sure we don't have dot 3 or dot 6. And I can give you, I think, what, 30 seconds just to prepare that, to be sure you have.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I said just 30 because sometimes
Yes.
it can be tricky to find the bricks
Okay.
in the box, but
If you want.
we will manage to do that.
Okay, so I can see people are still joining us, so 10 bricks. And while you are doing that, that will give you more time. I can explain something maybe some of you already know, maybe a lot of you, but just to explain how Louis Braille, who invented the Braille alphabet, of course a Braille code, made his alphabet. So he talked about, he worked with what he called decades or series of 10. So here on the screen you have the first series of 10 from A to J, and then he built the second decade exactly as the first one. It's exactly the same, but just you add the dot 3. So you can see that the first letter in the first decade is letter A, and the first letter in the second decade is letter K. So you just take the A, you add dot number 3, and you have a K. It's exactly the same for the second one, so it's letter B, dot 1, dot 2, and the second in the second decade is like letter B, dot 1, dot 2, plus dot 3. So you have a letter L. I can go on like that. The third one is letter C, dot 1, dot 4, and the third one in the second decade is letter M, so dot 1, dot 4 plus dot 3. And goes on like that. You have several decades. The third decade is exactly the same principle. You just add dot 3 and dot 6, and there is how can you say that, a small difference, or we don't follow exactly the alphabet because there is no W right in the third decade, because at that point the W existed, but it was not very used in France, so it was at the end of the letters and not just right where it had to be. Okay, so I think
I'm
I
ready.
gave you enough
Yeah,
time
yeah.
to prepare.
I'm ready.
I hope. Are you ready? I cannot see any thumbs. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. So we are gonna plant apple trees. So just first you need, I'm gonna read the let's play sentences, and then you can go and try to do it. So you're gonna pick an apple tree from the bowl. Did you place your...
No, in a bowl, no.
Okay, so you
Thank
just
you.
have to place the 10 bricks in a bowl.
Okay.
Okay, and pick a base plate.
Yeah.
So you pick an apple tree from the bowl. You look for the studs on the brick. They are the apples. The smooth part of the brick is the trunk. So you just have to attach the apple tree to the base plate. Make sure your tree is not upside down. And just plant as many trees as you can to make an orchard. I will give you 1 minute.
Do we have to close our eyes?
Yes, you can close your eyes. Why apple trees? It's because we really think it's more meaningful to look for apples or rather than stud on a brick. That's really more also funny, joyful, I think. And yes, you are doing it. So we said that you can close your eyes if you have a sighted peer who's playing with one of the students you are working with and don't want to close his eyes. Once again, you can have also, instead of putting the bricks in a bowl, you can place them inside of a bag made of fabric, and then you put your hand on it and you're gonna look for the bricks inside of it. I think Mark is done.
And I don't know if that's the case for everybody, but
oh,
we usually...
I can see an orchard.
Yeah.
Great. Can you let us see yours?
A more colorful one than
Yeah.
the blue one that we
But
can
this
see.
is 10 letter J.
Yeah. Exactly.
We don't have 10 with the French alphabet, so that's
Yeah.
why, and that's why we say at the beginning, if another nice one. With a lot of colors,
Yeah.
so great. Yeah, it depends. In many languages you have 10 letter G, but we don't have them in French, so I know some other languages don't. I don't know if you remember, but the numbers of each letter depends on the frequency on the language, so that's why for some people it won't be easy to find 10 letter G, and you can also use letter C. Whatever we saw, I think C is really simple, only 2 apples on top, so that's easy for the kids. So I am talking a lot, and maybe we can have a look at 2 smart kids. So on the left you have Loris, and the littlest one on the right is named Fadi. So just to explain, this day, the filming day, was Fadi's birthday. So he had a party at school, and that's why they are wearing the funny hats, and they just wanted to keep them for you. They said, we want people to see us with that funny face and hats. So, okay, just start the video and you're gonna see them playing. Elles ont un haut et un bas. Alors, je mets sur la planche de Fadi un G avec point 1, 2, 4, 5. Est-ce que tu peux me dire où ils sont tous les points? En haut ou en bas?
En haut.
Tout en haut. Et en bas, il y a quoi?
Du vide.
Tu montres à Loris.
Donc là, tu as les points.
Oui,
Donc ça, on est bien.
oui,
Et là, en bas, t'as rien.
ah oui.
D'accord. C'est quoi comme lettre celle-là?
C'est le G.
Oui. Tu peux me dire les points?
1, 2, 4, 5.
On va imaginer que c'est pas une brique de Lego, c'est un pommier.
Un pommier.
Oui. Et les petits points qu'on a en haut, ce seront quoi?
Ce sont les pommes.
Bravo. Donc les pommes dans un pommier. Est-ce que tu les mets en bas de l'arbre?
Bah non.
Tu les mets
En
où?
haut. Bah en haut.
Tout en haut de l'arbre. Ça veut dire que dans ton bol, tu as plein de pommiers.
Déjà.
Et je veux que tu viennes les planter ici. On imagine que ça c'est un grand pré et on va mettre plein de pommiers partout dans le pré. Juste que Loris, tu as ton réservoir de pommiers et Loris ça le tient et je vous regarde planter les pommiers. T'en as trouvé des pommiers qui ont que 2 pommes, Loris?
Ah oui, là j'en ai un.
Ouais. Partout sur, dans le pré.
C'est ce que je suis en train de faire.
Super.
C'est bon. Pareil, terminé.
Super, bravo. Okay. Just to say, I don't know if you noticed, but Fadi was really happy when I talked about apple trees. He said, apple trees? like that. He didn't say apple trees, in fact he said pommier, that's the French name. But it was really joyful for him to play with such a game, even if he's 8 years old and he's already a brain reader, a smart one. But I think he enjoyed really the activity. This activity, I said it is meaningful, but we have to be sure that it's really meaningful. And I don't know if you noticed, but Fadi usually talks a lot during activities. Most of the time it's low voice and we can hear, it's not easy to hear, but we can see his mouth, his lips moving. And we've known him for a long time. We've been working with his big brother who is also blind, and we know for sure that at the beginning when he began to talk, he talked a lot, and we were afraid of what we call verbalisms. So in fact it is the fact that sometimes he used a lot of words, he had a lot of vocabulary, but we were not sure that there were always a meaning beside the words and the vocabulary, and that everything made sense for him, to him. So we had to be sure of that. In that situation, we know that because we remember one time when he was little, we took him to a farm to make some activities with apples, and we talked about what is an apple tree. In fact, it was pear trees because it was something with pears. But he explained to us that he knew what was a tree. It was something really tall, and he made a movement with his arms like that. And you have apples or pears at the top of it. And I asked, but where is the top? And there was in fact no top. He thought that maybe the tree was unfinished and goes in the sky. So we had to find a small pear tree and to be able for him to touch the top of it and to know where it is. So it's just to say that verbalism is something very frequent, but I'm sure you know already that. And we have to be careful when we hear a smart kid like that talking a lot, that everything he says, he understands all the concepts behind it. Another thing also, I'm sure you noticed that he has some blindism, so he's pressing his fingers in his eyes just to feel some light in the eyes. So we know it can be dangerous because it's hurting the eye in the head. So we try to make him avoid that and think of something else and keep his hands busy, not to have that. Okay, another thing is that we could have used also Play-Doh, because it can be difficult to plant an apple tree like that. So it's what we call vertical, but in fact vertical would have been that. So it's kind of, we have an orchid but in 2 dimensions instead of 3. So for some children it can be a good way to start with Play-Doh and really plant an apple tree, and then you understand that you have to lay it down on the base plate. Yes, and we have, if we go on with the activity sheet, we have what we call facilitation tips, and this one is to encourage and demonstrate tactile exploration of the brick. So that's what they did at the beginning of the activity, and as they were 2, it was easy for us to ask one to help the other discover the brick, and that's great also because it is social interaction between them, and we always think it's better for them to interact than us with them. So they were really happy to do that, and it was also great. It's when I refer to verbalism, also it's a great way to see if really Fadi understood what is asked to him, and if he's capable of explaining the other kid, that means really that he understood. Okay, so then we have the possible variation. So we talked about at the beginning that it was not only letter G, we can have other letters. And we can also pre-plant apple trees on the base plate, 1, 2, 3, if it helps to make them to make a model and they can copy it.
We have a small tips and tricks. In fact, you're gonna see it.
Vous vous échangez vos plaques. Loris, tu vérifies qu'ils sont bien dans le bon sens, ces pommiers. Et toi, Fadi, pareil.
Ok.
Allez.
C'est bien.
C'est bien.
Okay, it was just to show you that even if bricks are bigger than the pulp of the finger, it's you cannot scan it at once and to have, like with braille on paper, immediately the braille cell under your finger. So you have to scan it a little bit and to make some movements. So they are doing it very quickly. They go from top to bottom very easily, and they don't spend very much time doing that. And this is another opportunity. This example is another opportunity of activity, of exercise. I'm sure they were not thinking that they were still working. They were just trying to check the other. But in fact, they did two other kind of exploration exercise. One, it was to be able to check all the bricks if they were in the right position. They had to look for the studs on it and verify if it is correct, and they also had to look on the base plate and to explore the base plate to be sure that they have all the bricks. You can see that there are more than 10 bricks on the base plate because they were smart enough to add more of them, and that was great for them. Okay. So it's just an example of another holistic activity. We have here the 5 different categories of skills: cognitive, creative, physical, emotional, and social. And so, yes, I'm not gonna read it, I think, because it's fine like that. And just the did you know, which is facilitating children's learning is different from thinking of teaching as delivering content, because the goal is for the young children to understand concepts and develop a breadth of skill they can apply. So I'm sure everyone agrees with that here, because we are not here for delivering a content, but really to make sure that they understand all the concepts, especially when we talked about verbalism and children with visual impairment. It's really important that they understand the concept they cannot see, but yeah, to be able to develop that breadth of skills. So I think we are done with the apple trees, and we can go right straight to
the second activity, that is called Find the Crazy Duck. So that's compare different orientation of the bricks on a base plate, find and manipulate the crazy duck to place it back in the line. And what I can suggest is to go straight away to the preparation section. And I have removed the pictures, so you cannot see anything about what it will look like. You can do whatever you want. But, so Mary, you have to have one base plate and 10 bricks. So you can use the same 10 bricks that you have for the previous activity, that's fine. And you can use classic bricks. They don't have to be braille bricks. So you have to make a line of spaced bricks in reading position across the top of the base plate, and place one of the bricks in the opposite direction.
okay.
So that's the
I
starting
start?
point. Yeah, you can start. You have 30 seconds, as you said.
Okay.
Maybe 40.
Tick tack, tick tack.
Okay.
Time.
So Mary is finished. And in a while we are also going to share the screens, but first we are going to go straight away to the activity. So now, Mary, you were the teacher preparing the activity, and you will turn into a blind child making the activity. So you can at home. So the activity, it's first you have to explore the base plate. That is to say that the teacher doesn't say anything where are the bricks or so on. You have to just explore the base plate. And you have to find the crazy duck who is out of order. And
I think I found it.
if you found it, you have to pick the crazy duck and replace it correctly in the row.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you can see that it's a very short activity that takes about 5 minutes. What can be great if we can share, I don't know if we can put everybody in the screen so that we can see what you have made at home, so that we can speak about that and make comparison. Okay, I can see 2, 3, yeah.
Great.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, yeah, that's great. And just before we make comment about what you have made, we are going to watch a small video of the preparation of the activity with Mary, and then we can make a few comments about that and comments about what you have made. So of course she has taken 10 bricks, and she has chosen to place the bricks horizontally, but I've seen that some of you have pointed it horizontally in the other way, and that's fine as far it is a row, and the crazy duck has to be in a different position of that.
But you said reading position.
Yeah, but I said reading position, but we can imagine that as they are not going to read because they don't know how to read, I've seen that people have arranged them horizontally, and for me that's fine, because for me reading position, it can be also tracking line position. So I think that everybody is correct, we can say. So that's to say that in fact, in this category, you can play, we can say, on the position of the bricks. You can also, I think that one of you have put the bricks in the middle of the base plate. So it is not a problem, because it's quite easy to follow the line, the row, even if it's not in the top of it. But what we like to do is to imagine that the base plate is like a page, and we really like the first line to be like the first line on the paper, so that if you want to combine and make more rows and more lines, like reading text, we can say. So that's one point. Another thing is that the crazy duck, to be identified, is it can be tricky. It depends where you're going to put it, because, for example, what you have on the screen, the letter T, you can see that is arranged in the edge of the base plate, so that if you're following, we can say, a line between made of rows 1 and 3, you can follow the line and see that one brick is longer than the other. But if you go in the other way, you will find a hole, and it will be a possibility. But if you put exactly the brick in the middle, that means you will have a hole on the top and at the bottom, and that's fine. So I can say whatever is the position of these bricks, it can be very easy for the child to identify as far as is following correctly the row of bricks. And the last point, maybe that we are going to go to the next slide, is we have left spaces between each bricks. Otherwise, you can try it at home. If you put all the bricks together, it can be very tricky to identify whether it is one bricks or two bricks stuck together. So it can be more difficult to find. But that's why I said that it leads us to possible variation, because that means that you can make all that you have made at home, and you can either adjust the bricks with or without spaces. You can put them one time in horizontally, one time vertically. You can put them in the middle of the base plate, in the bottom of it, or on top of it, and that's great. That means that all those things are possible variation, and that's a good thing. And that's also a way to find a progression in the activity. If you've seen that the activity is too difficult for the child you're working with, you can adjust by moving and playing with these different possibilities. So now maybe we can go to see the next movie, which is the activity itself. And
just
yeah.
Someone says also this is a great way to teach page orientation: top, bottom, center, left, right.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what we like. For us, the base plate is really like a page. Yeah. So we are going to see that's Tao, for those of you who were there. Juan, yeah, who were there yesterday. So Juan is going to make the activity, and a bigger boy will come, but he will not play with him, and he is also a blind boy. So let's see.
C'est une grande rangée de canards, et tu vas trouver celui qui est fou et qui s'est mis à l'envers. Aussi, tu connais lui?
Ouais.
Ouais. Tu vas devoir trouver celui qui n'est pas dans le rang.
Boum. T'as vu?
Regarde, ils sont pareils. Et là, qu'est-ce qui se passe?
Ils sont pas dans le même sens.
Tu le remets dans le même sens?
Oui, d'accord.
C'est dur, hein? Bravo. Bravo.
Yeah. So I was telling about at the very beginning of the activity, in this, what you can see on the slide now, you can see that Mary is preparing the activity with the child, like yesterday, like she had done yesterday. We have seen that if you want to prepare at home and put everything in a box and go to school with the box directly ready to be done, that's fine. But we have seen yesterday that Mary was preparing the activity with the child. And this is another version of preparation. We can say that Mary is preparing, as she's smart, we can say. She's preparing the activity while she was explaining the rules of the game to the child. And a few things that are important to have in mind is when we speak of crazy duck, we have to explain that to the child. Why this brick is a duck, so that's easy, and they usually they are happy with that, we can say. But they have to understand why it is crazy, and they had to understand that crazy means incorrect position. So that's really an important thing, because as you know, one of the 5 characteristics of learning through play is that the activity has to be meaningful. And we could imagine that this activity can be about men that are standing or that are sleeping, for example. Another thing is that, especially Juan, because he is only 4 years old, but it can happen to other one. He had difficulties removing the bricks and that's really something that it can be hard to remove and to replace the bricks correctly. So, of course, we can say that we have made activities with him for one day because we had that opportunity, and he was discovering the bricks for the first time. But of course, it would have been better for him to make a lot of activities in the manipulation section, like yesterday caterpillar to butterfly, for example, so that he will have great ability with the bricks and being able to remove them, to replace them, and then to go to more difficult activities that are orientation. And also, a thing that is important is the use of vocabulary, because Marie have explained us the meaning of verbalism. We have to be aware of that. but as practitioners, we have to be very precise on the vocabulary that we use. And even if Jean is only 4 years old, he needs to know exactly the correct words. So we can tell him horizontal, vertical, we can use landscape or portrait position, whatever. Of course, he won't be able to use that vocabulary, and that's not the point, but he will be able to understand. And that's very important that if we use, the more precise we are, the better the child will be able to make the activity. And just the last point about that is that, of course, during this activity, Marie helped the child a lot, because once again he was discovering the activity for the first time. So now we can go to the last video. It's about tips. So just to the tips that we'll be presenting here can be we can say before the activity, to help the child to practice and manipulation activities. Or you can also let the child play the activity and see what are the main points that are difficult to him, and then you can find activities in other sections in order to work and to help him. So let's have a look at.
En rang avec les copains, ouais. C'est ça. Encore un en rang? On le met en rang? Comme les copains, dans le même sens. Tous dans le même sens.
Comme anglais, tu l'as enlevé.
Encore un, oui. Encore un dans le rang.
Alors, donne-moi là.
Non, on n'a pas besoin là. On finit le rang des canards. Tu mets celui-là dans le même sens?
Ouais.
Tout en long. Voilà. Là, ils sont tous dans le même sens. Ils se sont bien mis en rang. D'accord? Oui?
Oui.
Et si celui-là, on le met comme ça, est-ce que ça va là?
Non,
Non. Pourquoi?
ça va pas.
Ah bah oui, tu peux le remettre dans le bon sens. Et tu le remets. C'est ça, ça y est.
Yes. So what is important here? Two things we can say. That's we say reading position and tracking lines, and usually that's not that exactly what happens in this video, but usually we like to follow the lines in the correct position, that is from left to right in the correct reading position. And it's really that to allow child to have ease and to track lines like if he is reading on a paper, once again, like in a page. And also a good way to help the child is to build the line with him. If you can ask, we can say the best thing to do is to collaborate. And if you ask another child, it can be sighted or a blind one, they can prepare both different lines, and just lines without crazy ducks, and then they can follow lines, and where they are good at that, then you can ask them to remove one bricks and to put in another position. If they practice, if they are, we can say, physically engaged in that, it will be also a good way to better understand the activity, and then they will manage to do that. And so, as you know, physically engaging is one of the 5 characteristics of learning through play. And also another one that is important is that the activity has to be iterative. And of course, if you're just going to play this game once with the child, I'm not sure it will succeed. It depends on the age of the child, of course, but you really have to repeat the activity. And in this one, for example, he didn't know which way to track the line, so it has to learn, and it really that step by step that is going to be better and better. And that's really why the activity cannot be done only once, we can say. So just a quick overview of the whole activity sheet. So we have seen everything from the beginning, but about facilitation tips, that's something important just for you to remember. Facilitation tips, there are, we can say, advice to help the teacher, to help the child. And the first one, for example, why do you think that Jack was out of line? And that's always, we can say, a good thing to make the child imagine a story about what he is living, why this duck is crazy, why he is not in the correct position, and they can make, and usually they know a lot of things about story, about books, and that's a good thing that they can also make their own stories. And the last point is make a row with one crazy duck for me, and that's exactly the same thing. If the child make the row, that means that he will understand correctly the vocabulary, the position, and everything. Then we go straight away to the skills, the holistic skills, and as yesterday for one of the activity, we only have 3 different aspects, and that's fine. We are going in this activity to work a lot of physical things about spatial relationships, about tracking lines, but we are also going to work on creative things, on making, organizing patterns and create new ones, and really step by step the child can create its own pattern. And then the last thing is about the social, and it's a very important social point, is that a child, even if he's only 4 years old, has to follow a rule in games laid by adults and learn to wait his time, we can say, and take turns. So it's not very easy to listen to the child, to the adult, and to follow step by step what he really wants.
And just a quick word about the Facebook community. I don't know if, I know for sure that some of you are already part of it, but we encourage you to come and join us, because that's where we want to share ideas about how to perform an activity, how to store the bricks, how you can make your own activity or change one. And that leads me to the question I saw on the chat. Some of them were, can you have the duck randomly on the base plate with space in the line to place it? Of course, we really tried to design activities that you can make your own, so you have the possibility on the website to download them in DocX and to change whatever you want in it. So it's really like suggestions we made, and you can do whatever you want with them. You are not obliged at all to make them as we thought, because it was just our thought, but I'm sure a lot of you have great ideas and that will be nice to share them with us. That's why this Facebook community is great for us, and we are waiting for more and more people to have the bricks. We know that some of them don't have yet the toolkits, so that will be great for that reason. And also another question about tactile, I don't know where it is, but yeah. Tactile defense. Yeah, that's really an important question. We will see in other webinars. We made a movie with a boy with autistic science at the beginning he had a lot of tactile defense. When he was young, that was very difficult for him to touch things, and he was just like that, screaming. But just what we can say is that Lego is a hard material. It's not soft, it's hard, it's not very cold, but it's not hot, and it doesn't leave on your fingers anything. So in my experience and in Mark's experience, they are not afraid of touching them, and they make noise, so that's also a great thing, because most of the kids we worked with, they love the sound of it, and they can hear you when you come with the brick, so they know what's gonna happen. And yeah, we haven't seen a lot of them refusing to touch them. It can be more difficult with Play-Doh, with things smooth and not so hard as this. I don't know what you think and what are your experience, but we will be happy to to share and hear
Yeah.
from someone.
And also thing that we have noticed is that usually if you use Lego like classic bricks to manipulate them and not to identify specifically each dot, that for the moment we haven't seen anyone having trouble touching them. It can be more tricky if you want to go deeper in the presentation. It's what we are going to see tomorrow with Constellation. Is there any?
Yes, you are limited to sharing items. Sure, it is difficult with COVID. You know that you can put all your Lego bricks in the dishwasher. Thank you, Mark. And they can go, and you can wash them like that. You just put them on the bag, for example, with some holes, and that's really easy.
Yeah, and that's safe for the print.
Yeah, we did that several times.
Yeah.
After the movie session, yeah. Okay, Anne, do you want to explain what you wrote on the chat? Feel free to talk, to unmute yourself and just talk with us. We will be happy.
Well, the hands under the hands, it's like with kids who don't like to touch things. You just put your hands and you let the kids just feeling your fingers for the starting. And maybe once he will slide his fingers and touching, but instead to put the hands and force more or less the kids who doesn't like to touch, avoid that. But I really like the point that the Lego, it's hard, doesn't let any trace. It's cold, so that's definitely a good point to use that.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering, it's also the strength that those kids needed to take it off, to put on the Lego. And we know that most of the totally blind kids, they don't have a good fine motricity to do it.
Yeah, they have
So-
input only.
Yeah.
Working maybe first with Duplo will be easier because it's a easy grasp
but-
to start.
Just to say that what you saw on the movies, we made the film with a really brand new toolkit. So it was the first time the Lego were used, and it really needs to be worked with to become more smooth and easy to take off. Really, that was the first time. And maybe if it was not COVID time, we will have used the box before the bricks. And that's true. And exactly what you said, we did that with the boy we're gonna see in a few days with the autistic signs. At the first moment he didn't want to touch them, so we made some manipulation and he had his hands under ours and he just followed. And then we left some Lego construction on the table, and at one point we saw that he went there and he began to try to touch. Yeah.
And also think about that the fact that it is difficult to remove the bricks. Remember that you have a tool that is not easy to use, but an orange tool in the toolkit. I have it here. So it can be a good way because children love to use it. Just when you place it on the brick, that's easy to place, and then you just have to push on the orange object, and it's really easy to remove. So that's not easy, we can say, to use at the beginning. You need to have explanation, of course, but they love that. They love to learn what is this object. They wonder, and they really want to use and try it. So it can be maybe not for a 4-year-old, but for just older than that. It can be also a good way to help them.
We have another comment of Elizabeth saying that a great way to build the finger strength is to work with an OT. I totally agree with you because I am an OT, so I think that's why we really loved to design, to write this game together, because we had the two point of view, yes, sometimes not the same, but that was great. I have a teacher and a TVI and an OT.
Yeah, and what is always great we can see is really to collaborate and to work with different kind of person. And what is great with those Lego is they are not only for TVIs, but they are for every practitioner. So that's really something that is important.
Someone else? No.
No more question for today. But you will have the opportunity to ask questions tomorrow because we are going to make another presentation tomorrow.
Yes, just going back in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh yes, we had a question about the crazy that can it be upside down, and we replied on the chat. We thought this is the first exercise in the series of upside down, so the crazy duck, and then you can have another exercise called find the upside down, so you can play with, for example, all letter A. I think that's what we did in the activity. You place the same way but a lot of A and one upside down, and you have to find it. And again, you can go to make some combination. Another is called up down, so you put one up, one down, and again one up with a rhythm. So yeah, that was other games that we wrote, and we thought that maybe that's what we're going to do in 3 weeks. We're going to try to build together with you, if you want to join us, some lesson plans, and that can be great to have that progression between the activity, to start with a simple one and to add more and more difficulties, to go to a kind of progression inside the lesson. Yes, it's good to have parents involved, especially today. So we know that some kids can take a few bricks at home, or if the teaching is remotely, they can loan the toolkit for a moment, and some are having sessions with the TVI remotely. So that's also why the website and all the activities are available for everyone, even the parents, if they want to have a look at them and try them or work with their children. Yeah.
Yeah. And about teaching experience to work remotely and with the bricks at home and the students at home, and usually we know a lot of TVI in the US that cannot go and attend schools or stuff like that, but they use Zoom or just their phone, and so the TVI is away from home and the parents is by the child, and they are preparing the activity and making the activity, and that really works well. Of course, it would be better if the TVI can be with the child, but for now it is not possible, and it works really well, and both parents, TVI and the child like that.
Yeah.
And it can be a starting point before they will be able to meet them after.
And that's really also why we try to add some facilitation tips. And did you know, not for the parents, but for people who doesn't have a huge background with working with a blind or visually impaired children, we try really to make the explanation simple and to help you and give advice if a child is struggling with an activity. How can you help him make it more meaningful for him and things like that. So once again, if you have suggestions, if you find something that works well with a student, please share. We will be really happy, and we can add more things on the facilitation section or the did you know or whatever. Really, the activity are as they are now, but they need to be improved. We know that for sure.
Yeah. And that's when you can download them on your computer and make all the change you want. That's the aim of that.
And you can write to us through the website. You have at the bottom on the right, you have a contact button, and you can write there, and we will receive the email, and we will take care of your consideration.
Yeah, we have already received a few great ideas that we are preparing and putting in a template so that we can be able to share.
Oh, someone's Elaine, so you are a parent and you had fun with the turtles.
With Duplo, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to talk?
Where is Ellen on the screen?
I don't know.
That's difficult to see.
I must say that.
Hi there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just had to find the unmute button. Yeah, it was really great to find simple games to do with our 3-year-old. Like you said, you know, not everyone's an expert. So these resources and your videos here are helping myself and my husband have activities for my daughter in the house to help with her pre-braille, and she really enjoyed it. So it was just great to give us something to put into our resource stack to do with her. So thank you.
Great, that's great. And
Thank
you did
you.
that with Duplo, because as we said yesterday, we cannot use Lego with children under the age of 4, but
Yeah.
Duplo are really great. And that's a good way to go from giant to little and so on.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Anyone? Okay.
okay, so see you tomorrow and have a nice end of day wherever you are
Or
in the
beginning of
world.
day.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Au revoir.